Our Macaulay ran out of milk. Our Macaulay ran out of eggs. Our Macaulay didn't have really basic things. We didn't have cottage cheese. I didn't have maternal for my kid. The Arabs worked in the Macaulay. The Arabs did the deliveries. We didn't have food. The first few days, no one wanted to leave the issue. Tekoa is a place of 3 of 4 sides are surrounded by Arabs. It was very dangerous to leave. No one knew what was happening. No one knew if they would attack at some point, if they wouldn't, what the roads were. I remember at some point my car didn't have any gas. I didn't want to get stuck without gas. I ended up asking a friend who was going to Yerushalayim anyways to come bring me a jerry can of gas. One person would go to the pharmacy a day, would pick up for half the issue of anything they needed for the pharmacy. But the first few days, the Macaulay didn't have food. It really didn't have food. You lived on what you had in the house and borrowed from friends, and it was pretty crazy.
This is Listening to Understand, where sensitive Jewish truth seekers gather in a safe place for candid conversations on challenging topics. When we listen to truly understand and not in order to respond, we can replace judgment with curiosity and open our hearts to every Jew, regardless of their personal choices. As Socrates said, the unexamined life is not worth living. I'm Atana. Let's get started. Today I sit down with the lovely, special Avigail Staiman. I want to say she's my new mentor for life. I sit down with her because she is a Eshet Chayal, the wife of a soldier that her husband was pulled out of Simchat Torah from Shul, was called up early in the morning to go to serve in the army after they announced October 7th atrocities. We talk about what was life before October 7th. What was her dreams? What was she looking forward to on October 8th? She actually shares with us that she had something that she was looking forward to on October 8th before the Chagim even started. What was it like to have her husband leave to the army, be a single mom for all these months? What happened when he came home for his little quote-unquote recharges, 24 hours or 48 hours of going home to visit? What was it like? When did she feel like she was in service for her family? And when did she realize that she needs to be in service for herself and her well-being? She shares with us the ups and downs, what she learned from this journey, and what she is hoping to continue learning through evolving and healing from her October 7th journey, post-October 7th journey. I thought that sharing Avigail's story as taking care of the family, being left at home to take care of the fort at home, what was it like? We hear a lot of stories from soldiers, but I think we need to bring out what it's like for the wives of the soldiers, the wives and the mothers of the little kids that had to say goodbye to their fathers to go off to the war. It's a very raw conversation. I learned so much from Avigail, and I'm so grateful that she was willing to share her journey with us. Her and her husband, Arky, are going to be coming to America after Pesach on a tour to both be speaking about their experiences and what the next stage is, what they want the world to learn, what they learned from it, what we need to do next. What is next? If you know anybody, any Eshet Chayal, or anybody from around the world that can get inspired from this story, from this journey, please share. Hit the subscribe button on Listening to Understand. Give us a review. We want to grow. We want to be able to share more inspiration and more thought-provoking conversations with more Jews around the world so we could do it together. I interview, you share, and you give us reviews. Enjoy this conversation. Avigail, thank you for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me.
I just feel like I met my best friend.
I appreciate that. I feel like you get me in a second.
Such a special soul. And my kids know that I often say, be grateful for social media. And once my daughter went to tag and she raised her hand when they said, what are you grateful for? And they know that I practice gratitude because it was one of my oxygen masks of healing for my depression. And she said technology. And one of the teachers are like, no, we should not be grateful for technology. And I said, Tiferet, we can be grateful for technology because we meet wonderful people. And if not for your husband's viral videos that were holding us through the war and keeping us, I would say, grounded, very grounded and optimistic and hopeful while holding space for a broken heart. If not for technology, we wouldn't get inspired around the world. We were far away, right?
Yeah.
And his message got around the world. Your husband, Arky, claim to fame. And I wouldn't get to speak to you on Zoom right now and feel like I want to get to know you much better. Really want to get to know you much better. And I hope Arky is listening. Behind every amazing man, there's even a better woman. And I believe that with my full heart and soul. So, especially if it's an Eshet Chayal. And growing up, my father always said, every Eshet Chayal is a Eshet Chayil.
The truth is, I'm also very grateful to technology and even to social media. I feel like it's in a way the world gets to see the Arky that I get to see. And somehow in these videos, like his real inner self came out in such like a real, this is who he is. Like
Wow.
his little mannerisms, all these things. And I felt like the world got to see him and gets to appreciate him in the way that I get to appreciate him. So I feel lucky that the world got to see him and he got to appreciate that.
You got to share Arky with the world.
Yeah. The world
Beautiful.
got to taste of him.
Thank you for that. So I asked Arky to come speak on our podcast, and then I said, wait, can I speak to your wife? Because I really want to hear an experience of Eshet Chayal. What is it like? What did she discover about herself? What are things that a lot of Neshot Chayal discovered through this heart-wrenching, heartbreaking time with a lot of beauty that was going on at the same time, what you discovered about yourself and what you want the world to know about your experience and to learn. And we say that struggling or suffering without meaning is a form of anguish and torture. So in order to find reason behind pain, we have, like, meaning is one of them. Viktor Frankl said, men search for meaning. And I'm happy that you're willing to share what you learned, the good, the hard, the complex, the understood, right? All of it.
Been a very life-changing few months, I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
I think I'm a very different person was October 6th.
Yeah. That's the beauty of who you are, is that you said, thank God I'm a very different person. Like you knew that it had to come with change.
I obviously would rather have gotten the change without all the terrible things that had happened. And I, in no way, also want to insinuate that I would be a bad person and have not had any of that happen. But if it was going to happen, I'm happy I learned from it.
I think you're trying to say that you're happy that you were able to go through it and also be a new person. I'm
happy I went through it and became better.
Yeah.
And didn't nosedive.
Yeah. So take us back a little bit. You both grew up in America.
Yes.
You were idealistic.
Teaneck, New Jersey. My husband.
Yeah. So give us a little background where you grew up, moving to Israel, and then to October 7th.
Okay. So I'm originally from Teaneck. My husband is from Baltimore. I went to Frick. I graduated in 2009, and my husband graduated also in 2009. We're the same age from Beth Phila. Both of us came to Israel for the year. Before that, we were always good friends in Camp Stone. We were lifeguards together. We went on Mofas Ba'aretz together. We were on the same bus. So we were always just very good friends, but very clearly friends and nothing else. And so I came to Israel for the year. I studied at Migdal Oz. Arky went to Leva Torah, and then the next year he went to Oyen. And my second year, I went back to America and I went to Hopkins for a year. And then I started studying engineering. And then that summer, after my first year at Hopkins, I came to Israel just for an internship. And I met Arky. I met up with him just to say, hey, what's going on? We're friends. I haven't talked to you in 3 years. You know, we each kind of went separate ways. And after 10 hours, his parents called him and said, okay, maybe you should come home now, because he was supposed to be home. He had just gotten out of the army. And about a week or two later, I decided to make a Aliyah. And
a week or two later?
Yeah, I basically said, I knew that we were going to be together. It was very clear to me. It was hard for me to admit to myself for a while that I was making Aliyah for a boy. That felt really wrong. And also an independent woman, that felt really wrong. But I didn't want to make Aliyah anyways. It was just my timing changed. But I just going to get married. I knew that it felt so right. And so I actually, that summer, then left Hopkins. I came and I restarted my degree in Technion. So then we got married and we lived in Technion for a while right outside of Technion for a while until I finished my degree. And now we live in Tikkun. Yeah.
And Arky was in the army the whole time that you were in the Technion?
No. So we dated the whole time he was in the army. I did not want to be married to a soldier. I was going to be married. We were going to be together. I didn't want to see him once every 3 weeks. So we got engaged a few days before he finished our regular Army service. And then we got married that December.
Mm-hmm.
And so once we were married, he was already out of the Army. And then he had to finish Hesder. So it was technically Army, but he was learning in yeshiva, which was, so he meant sleeping at home and being home every day.
Right.
It was like work. It's just going to yeshiva instead of
Right.
being in the Army. And then once he finished Hesder, he went to go study be a tour guide, and then he became a tour guide. So
Wow.
we both finished our degrees plus minus around the same time, within a few months of each other.
And then life happened.
And then we have
you had 3 children.
Yeah. So we have Zima, who is just turned 6. We have Netzach, who is about to be 4 in about a week or so. And Keter, who is a year and a half, a little more than that.
Love the name. My friend Suri, if she's going to listen to this episode, she's going to say Netzach. When I was pregnant with my last baby, his name is Mishael.
Okay.
I was told that I won't have children. I had early ovarian failure. Very side note, very off the topic, but I was 42 years old and I had 6 miscarriages, and I was like on a special medicine to not get pregnant because my ovaries couldn't produce healthy. And she came to me one day and she said, I had a dream that you're pregnant. I just came back from Israel. I was really not feeling well. And she said, and his name is Netzach.
Wow.
I said, Suri, first of all, I can't get pregnant. Second of all, I'm 42. And third of all, I'm on a birth control to make sure that I'm not going to get pregnant. Anyways, and then I found out that I was pregnant and I thought I was dying from cancer because I was so sick.
Wow.
And he survived, and he's Mishael, but till today she calls him Netzach. She sees him, she's like, Netzach! So she'll be very happy there's a Netzach in the world.
There's a lot. There's a bunch of our friends. None of us spoke about this, but a bunch of our friends all have a Netzach, which is very funny. A special name, special kid.
Yeah, definitely. Koach, right? There's a koach behind the Netzach, nachon?
We like to say that in Hebrew, you say rosh bakir, head against the wall, where no matter what, he's going to push against it.
Right.
It's a good stubbornness, I like to say.
Yeah. Goal-driven stubbornness. So take me to like life right before October 7th.
Okay, so my husband's a tour guide. So we had just finished in August where he was working really hard. And we had decided, I'm doing this part-time work from home job. So we decided that I was going to be home the whole time with the kids in August. So I had just come off of an August where it was very hard and very stressful. And I was not adequately prepared for the situation. And August kind of came and went, and September came, and right before Rosh Hashanah, I was still struggling a little bit and trying to calm down, get myself back to grounded after a really rough summer. And my husband said to me, okay, we just have to make it through Simchas Torah. And once Simchas Torah is over, we're good to go. We'll have shigra. We're going to have like normalcy. We'll have stability. The year before that, we had moved twice. We had some medical issues when I was pregnant with our third. So it was just like, in the span of a year, it was just, we had moved twice. I had medical issues. Before I gave birth, we thought I was going to be in the NICU for months. It was a whole thing. And we're like, okay, we're going to have stability. So I had this, okay, just get to October 8th. I had that date in my head, just get to October 8th.
Mamash?
The kids are going to go back to school.
Wait, Mamash, you said, let's get through, like,
get through
Simchat Torah?
They're going to go back to school the next day and everything's going to be amazing. And I still remember exactly where we were when I said that. I was standing right outside my bathroom and he said that.
I have the chills.
And we laugh about it now that he shouldn't say like that anymore.
Wow.
Yeah, I was at the same time I had just finished a triathlon. I really wanted to do this triathlon that was going to be the week after Simchat Torah. And I spoke to a friend of mine and she convinced me actually to do one right before Yom Kippur instead, to just have it 3 weeks earlier. And I wasn't sure and I wasn't fully prepared. And I did it and I wasn't so happy with my results. And I was like, okay, it's fine. I'm going to do the next one. And that'll be a better result. And I'm also so thankful that I had done that and I actually got to do my goal before and to run it before October 7th happened. But yeah, so it was just this, okay, we're going to get through Chagim and then everything's going to be okay. My parents actually came in for the first time for a Chag in, I think, ever since I've been here. They came for Yom Kippur Sukkot, which was really special. My parents were here. They did Kippur with us. They did Sukkot. And then they were with us also October 7th.
Wow.
Yeah, that's heading.
Yeah. So you
Okay.
were very tired. Let's put it that, like,
Yes.
very craving stability.
Yeah. And
On
that
the
was
last, you're like so appropriate to a triathlon, the last stretch,
it was
right?
really, and I saw it. It was there. It was one day away.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the background. And then October 7th happened. My husband went to shul with our daughter, with the oldest. And my younger boys, me and my mom were just they were taking their time getting dressed, taking a while. My middle child there's no diagnosis or anything like that, but he is in a special needs kindergarten and he has some emotional issues and some language issues. So he's just a little bit that's my neck. And so he, just in general, is a little bit of a harder kid to get moving, let's call it.
Transitioning from
Yes,
one thing to
exactly.
another is hard.
Exactly. So we just decided Arky would take her. I would come later just for the dancing with the boys so that they could be there. I mean, my 1.5-year-old didn't really matter he was only just over 1 at that point.
But what time was this in the morning? Like 8:30?
I guess something like that.
And there were no sirens by
At
then?
8. She'll start at 8. Arky went.
Okay.
I guess it was around 9 at some point. Not sure exactly when. What happened was someone came into shul and said, by the way, just in case, if there's a siren, the Chabad, which is the shul next door, has a mamad, go in there. And everyone was, what's this random announcement? Okay. But I'd been hearing booms nonstop on the hills. And I don't know, my mind just went, it's the Arabs across this, like they don't keep Shabbat. They're doing construction. This sounds like construction noises. I don't know. Like I was just hearing booms and it was just so far away from where my head was. I have other friends who picked it up right away. It was so far away from me that I was like, oh, they're good. They're doing construction. They can do construction on Shabbat. We can't. Okay. And then rumors started going around shul. So Arky then heard that a war started, and it was just some very small rumors that Hamas had come into Israel. And then it was Hamas is running around sterile and all these really crazy things. And Arky comes running in from shul, which is weird that he would come home from shul. He came running in and said, I come to the door and he goes, there's a war in Israel. There's a war in Israel. Talking about, I don't know if Hamas is here. All those booms, those are rockets. I'm like, okay, it's another mifta. We did Soketan. We did all those, whatever. I can't even remember. I'm blanking on all the names, but it was every 2 years from 2010 to 2015, it was another thing. So I pictured that as happening. So it was a big deal. I'm not saying it's not a big deal, but the scale of it was just, I was confused at his reaction. And he Hamas are driving around Jeeps around Stero. They've taken people. They're hostages. I'm like, okay, 2 or 3 hostages, 4 or 5 hostages. Your mind, that's the right? 4 or 5 hostages is insane.
Yeah.
And he's no, this is war. So he came home. He grabbed his gun. He has just a small pistol, and he grabbed his phone because he needed to know if Miloim was going to call him. And then he said, okay, until then, I'm going to go to shul. So then. And then at that point, I was already on my way to shul. We were already getting everyone dressed and ready. So I was like, what am I going to do? I'm going to go to shul till the happens.
Did it dawn on you to maybe turn on the radio or something like that? No. Or ask a neighbor?
So I saw a neighbor walking up the hill and he was wearing an army uniform and he was on his phone. He's very religious. And he was on the phone walking up the hill, holding his daughter's hand. And I called out to him, what's going on? And he said, for right now, everything is down south. Nothing's happening here. Here is safe. So at that point, he's the most in the know. He's already in uniform. It made sense for me just to go to shul. I'm not going to just sit at home, just freaking out let's go on with our day. It sounds terrible, but I couldn't even process how terrible it was. So in my head, it wasn't so bad, so we can just go. So we went to shul, but our kid was fine. Okay. And the rumors are getting worse and getting worse. At this point, it was maybe 9, 10, something like that. And it's just funny. I told everyone in shul, don't worry. As long as Arky's here, it means it's not a big deal.
Really?
I told everybody in shul that because.
And why'd you say that?
Okay, so what my husband does in the army is he's basically Zaka for the army, which means he brings soldiers home when they are killed under.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
He brings the bodies home and he makes sure that they're not. Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's my husband's job. And his job is specifically to do that in what's called omek, which means deep in Lebanon or deep in somewhere. It's not if it was to happen in Israel. Right? Omek is like in enemy territory. I was like,
Train
what?
for that? Do you choose
Yeah.
that? Like, how does it?
No, he didn't choose
Like,
it. He was plucked.
assigned?
Yeah, for 10 years he's been in this Miluim, only doing practice. So I keep telling everyone, guys, Arky's not there. It means things haven't gone real bad. It's fine. And it's just so funny to me that I went around telling everybody that.
Wow.
And then around the third kafan, Arky reaches over the machitza and taps me.
Oh my
and
God.
I turn around and he goes, Gail, I got the call.
Oh no.
And so we went to the side. Our machitza on our shul goes most of the way back, but there's a man can walk from the men's section to the women's section, just like a small little part. So we went to that part and he gave me like the biggest hug and then he left. And he ran home to go pack.
And what about the kids?
So the kids were here. The kids were in shul with me. And I was like a little dumbfounded. And I let the kids and Hakafo happen. I didn't tell them yet.
You didn't tell them Daddy's going. Abba's going.
No, not yet. Not yet.
So he ran home, getting into his madim.
And then at some point I said, I don't want to be in shul anymore. Like I couldn't handle it. And I asked, my dad was there, my mom was here, and I was like, guys, can we just go back? And by the time we got back,
Hashem, they were there. What?
Yeah. By the time I came back, Arky was still packing because he didn't know what to bring. He was so crazed. He didn't know. He was just grabbing things. He didn't know where things were.
So you still don't know what was going on in Nova. No one said anything. No one.
Know what Nova? I didn't know what party. I just knew Starrett was under attack. That's pretty much all I got. And then Arky left. And I gave him another hug goodbye at home. The kids said goodbye to him. It was this very awkward goodbye because he was already so in army mode that he was like, okay, bye. And he just left. And I just sat on the steps, on the step right, sitting with my son, my second. And Arky had closed. I remember the door just slamming, and I just gathered myself together and said, right now, the only thing that matters is kids are happy, I'm happy, everyone's safe and happy. That's all. That is my job right now. That is my only thing for me to do is that everyone is safe and happy. That's it. And I told each of my parents, okay, each one of us is taking a kid and we're doing one-on-one for the rest of the day. Everyone's doing one-on-one. Mm-hmm. And my dad, who normally, he always takes a nap on Shabbat. I have not seen him take a nap on Shabbat my entire life. Did not take a nap over Shabbat. He did not go to Mincha Marav. He stayed with me, stayed with the kids. We did a round robin, so each kid got a different
switching around.
Also had me.
Kol hakavod, Avigail.
And then,
how do you think so fast? How to be so productive and grounded?
I don't have an answer for that. It was just, it was all came from Hashem. I don't know. Toward the end of the day, I ended up, I put my kids to sleep pretty early. My friends make fun of me for that, but by 6:30, my kids are out. They go to sleep. And so I asked my parents to stay in the house, and I went over to friends in the afternoon. And I remember sitting around their table, it was just as Shabbat was going down, and someone said, I saw on the news that 40 people died. And I remember thinking, there's no way they would call Arky for 40 people. It can't just be 40 people. They wouldn't need him for 40 people. It doesn't make sense. And my mind is trying to process what happened. I came back and my daughter was screaming. And she was really scared. She's too scared to go to sleep.
Were there still the noises, the bombs? And did you have any sirens?
So we actually didn't have any sirens. We're into call. We're just location. But she understood. She was in shul with my husband hearing all the rumors. And she has spidey senses. She hears everything. She understands way more than a 6-year-old should. She was 5 at that point, and she was 5.5. And she knew something was wrong. She knew something was scary. She saw Abba leaving his madim with a backpack on Shabbat with his phone. It was crazy. She was really scared, and she was crying right as Shabbat was coming out. And I called Arky, and I gave the phone to Arky first. I gave the phone to her first, and I was like, Abba's going to tell you I'm loving you and I'm safe. And he did, and then she was able to go to sleep. And then Arky told me that he got his weapon, he got his stuff, and that he was on his way down. And he was on down south. And I was already then able to see the news. So I was more aware of what was happening.
And you got the horrific news. And then you were supposed to process it all together. And you realized, okay, Arky's not going to be gone for a day or two. So I'm just pausing here in the middle of the episode for 30 seconds to tell you that if you want to hear this part of the story, you can go to Listening to Understand community on WhatsApp. We are going to be clipping out little bites from every episode and some interesting conversations that we're going to be having only on WhatsApp community for Listening to Understand members. The link is in the show notes. Join the community and join our conversations. Enjoy the rest of the episode.
So the truth is that my first mind, like the only thing really that went through my mind was, okay, Arky has clients that he's supposed to be taking on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I need to now go cancel for them. And so I was like, okay, Arky, I got this. I'm looking on your calendar and I'm going to cancel all these things. And everyone canceled, don't worry.
Yeah, no one's going anywhere.
In my head, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do all these logistics for him and he'll be back at some point. And yeah, and then Saturday night, Sunday, Monday, he was really in just these really crazy places. And I was really sure he would be fine. I never had a fear that he was going to get hurt because what his job is to come in after. And that was really ridiculous because truth is that where he was, there were bullets flying and he was multiple times in very unsafe locations and things. But in my head, I just said, I don't know why it wasn't tricking myself. I really believed in my head that there was he was in a safe place. He was doing something safe. And so I knew he'd be traumatized. I knew coming back he'd be traumatized, but he'd be safe. And that's just what I kept telling myself. I'm going to get him back. I'm going to get him back. I'm going to get him back.
And then what? Every day, like how was Sunday, Monday? Did your parents stay?
So my parents were supposed to leave Sunday night. And no one had school. There was no school. There was no nothing. It was like more August, but nothing was open and there was fear. And
it was like COVID again. With the shmama of fear.
COVID, except for I went to the park. The park was close enough to my house that there was close enough to a mamad, so I felt comfortable going to the park. But like our makolet ran out of milk. Our makolet ran out of eggs. Our makolet didn't have really basic things. We didn't have cottage cheese. I didn't have maternal for my kid.
Wait, there was no deliveries coming?
No, because these were all Arabs. All the Arabs did the deliveries. The Arabs worked in the makolet. The Arabs did the deliveries. We didn't have food. And the first few days where no one wanted to leave the issue, we didn't know what the Arabs and Tekoa is a place that's almost, I think, on three of four sides are surrounded by Arabs. It was very dangerous to leave. No one knew what was happening. No one knew if they would attack at some point, if they wouldn't, what the roads were. I remember at some point my car didn't have any gas. And I didn't want to get stuck without gas. I ended up asking a friend who was going to Shalim anyways to come bring me a jerry can of gas. One person would go to the pharmacy a day, would pick up for half the issue of anything they needed for the pharmacy. But the first few days, the makolet didn't have food. It really didn't have food. You lived on what you had in the house and borrowed from friends, and it was pretty crazy.
Were people panicking that they didn't know when the food is going to come? Like, is it going to be a shutdown? Will it be like a matzor? No in, no out?
I think my mom was about that. I think her Holocaust side kicked in about that.
Mm-hmm.
I saw it as what happened in Karuma, and at some point it would even out. Question of when. But yeah, my father ended up going back Saturday night. He had some medical things he had to take care of in the back in the States for himself. But
So a week later?
No, he left the next day.
Next day? How did he have a flight?
Because they booked El Al. They booked El Al, and El Al was the only one flying out. A few years back, my parents, it was during the FA ban, I guess it was Tsukei Tan. And there was like 2 or 3 days of an FAA flight ban. And no one flew except for El Al. And basically since then, my parents said, that's it. We're only flying El Al.
Wow.
Even though El Al is significantly less comfortable and significantly
How crazy is that?
So my dad got on a flight Sunday, and they were more than happy to let my mom change her flight to let someone else take her seat.
Right.
As my mom flew back like a week and a half later, the next Wednesday. And my mom was here, and she helped me with the kids.
And when did they go back to school?
Like 3 weeks later.
3 weeks?
Yeah.
They were home for 3 weeks?
Yeah, so the Yeshuv actually did something so incredible. I mean, my heart is like so full from what they did. But basically, all the high schoolers got together and ran little groups for anybody whose husband left.
That's so nice.
So, not for my baby. He was too little, but for anyone from 3 and up. I think it was like 3 to like 5th grade or something like that. I'm not sure what grade it ended because it didn't matter for me. But just these teenagers then ran a group for them from 9 to 1. So I had a little bit of a break. And during that time, I only had the baby. And my mom was here, and we did a lot of transferring back and forth, switching off, doing art projects and reading and just trying to get through our day. And there was a lot of fear. And then
That's what I keeping like when I'm listening to you, I'm thinking, how do you process fear in this time? There's so much technical, and then there's fear.
Honestly, I think everyone around me was so scared. And I closed all my blinds. This is the first time I locked my door ever. Not ever, but basically ever since we got married. Since we moved to Taqwa, it was the first time I locked my door consistently at night. I closed all the blinds all day. The blinds were shut close so that no matter what would happen, all I have to do is grab the kids, go and lock doors. So I wouldn't have to deal with that. So like my safety, I did what I had to do safety wise, but I couldn't put it in my head. I couldn't be scared like that. I wasn't scared for myself. I was scared for Arky. That was the only thing I cared about, was what was happening there with him. And so I was like always also attached to my phone because it was, okay, is he going to call? Is he going to call now? Is he going to call now? Is he going to call now?
How often did you speak to him in the first few weeks?
I talked to him for 3 seconds right on Saturday night, right after Shabbat was over. Just, I'm here, I'm going in, that's it. Sunday morning we texted a little bit, and then Monday morning we spoke. It was every day-ish, but definitely nothing like consistent, or it was when he had a minute. It was, unfortunately, in the beginning, there were a lot of logistical issues. They were supposed to go, and then they were waiting for their Hummer. They were supposed to go, and then this happened. And so they were supposed to, there were all these times when like they were waiting around, which is very classic for a massive organization of any kind. So during those times, we were able to talk because he wasn't in Gaza. He was in Israel. The fighting was in Israel. It wasn't in Gaza. So we had to stop.
Where was he located for the first few weeks once he did go in?
So the first week, he was in a place called Bilu, which is the name of
Summit Bilu.
Exactly. So there's a big in Summit Bilu. He was there. That's where he drove to on Simchat Torah. And then that first Shabbat, like 5 seconds before Shabbat, they switched to Givat Washington. There's a university there for girls. Obviously, the university wasn't going, so they stayed in the dormitories there. They were there for a few weeks, and then they moved into KBY for a little bit, and then they were in then they were in Park Eshkol, and then they were in Ofakim. They bounced around all around that area, though.
Wait, I don't understand. You said that he was in charge of the awful job of taking the body.
He's
taking the gufot.
Taking the gufot, yeah.
Taking the bodies and doing what with them? Bringing them to Chevra Kadisha
Yes. So basically what they do is he takes them. So in the beginning, he was in the kibbutzim. So he took them. He was in Kfar Aza. He was in Nir Oz, and not him specifically, but part of his pluga. Other people were in the Nova Party. They were all over that area. And what they do is they take the bodies, they put them in a bag, and they put them on the truck. And then the truck.
Oh my God! It's like a Holocaust.
So then they in the truck bring it to what's called a place called Shura, which is where they bring all the bodies to get processed. And they actually don't do Tahara on the bodies because they died in the name of Hashem.
Kiddush Hashem.
Kiddush Hashem, so they actually don't do a Tahara, but they still need processing. These bodies were just, you needed DNA tests. There were a lot of things that needed to happen. So it was a long process once they got to Shura, but they basically put them on the trucks and then milavot the trucks and drive with the trucks to Shura.
And what happens in Shura? It's where they're
the fabric, basically. So that's where they do DNA testing, and that's where they do that's once they get to Shura, they can get processed, and then they can tell the families, and then they can, all that other stuff happens.
So the first week when there were hundreds of bodies everywhere, right? Was he already in the crime scene?
He was working from Saturday night. And only from Saturday night instead of earlier because that's when they got the Hummer. He was on the road and they stopped on the roads, picked up. And
one at a time, or they
went to Nivua. So it was a site. They went to one place. They picked up X, however much was there, brought it. So it was very clear that this truckload is from this place, so things didn't get so confusing. They couldn't.
At what point? Oh my God.
Yeah.
At what point did he start sharing with you what he was seeing?
Me and my husband it's very important that we tell each other everything. And we said to each other that I told him and he agreed that I wanted to hear everything. I didn't want him to not tell me. I wanted to understand what he was going through. So he told me, but also during that time, he had actually done me leave in May earlier in the year. And he had gone to Shua. He had spoken to psychologists, and one of the psychologists said that one of the best ways to treat PTSD is to make voice recordings and to process it. The faster you process it, the less likely you'll have PTSD. So he also made voice recordings of, okay, this was my day, this is what happened, these are the things I remember about my day. So he then sent them to me, to his parents, to his brother. So I also heard that. So we also sat and he spoke and he really talked about the things he remembered and the things he felt. So he also did it face to face, but also through voice recordings.
Oh my God. So you're at home trying to hold down the fort, emotionally stable for the children, single parent, worried about her husband, and also hold space for this unbearable images that your husband is processing in his mind, body, not sleeping, probably like I can't even like who can even eat after they see these horrors?
Yeah.
Like how? Avigail, how?
The truth is, it was a crazy time, and I think it was a lot of adrenaline, and I just went. The truth is, I didn't sleep a lot. A friend of mine was really kind. She's an herbalist here, and she offered to give me free these herbs that help for calming also during the day and also for night to help me sleep because I was not sleeping. Like even if I was asleep, the smallest noise would wake me up, would freak out. I remember the first time there was a thunderstorm and I heard the thunder and I flipped out because I didn't know if that was a boom or a thunder and why was there no siren, but the boom was so close. And the truth was I made myself available. I didn't matter. I didn't matter in the moment. My job, in the same way that his job was to do those terrible things, to deal with those terrible things, my job was to be there for everybody. And in retrospect, I wish I would have been a little smarter about that because I probably crashed because of it. But that's just how I got through because it was the beginning and I didn't know it would last so long. And so that was just how you push through. I was going to be there for everybody. And I was just there for him. I didn't matter in that moment. The kids were crazy, okay. They were allowed to be crazy. They're Abalef. Things are confusing.
And you were okay with that? You were okay with them acting up, being more needy? Do they still go to sleep at 5:36?
So my mom was amazing. My mom woke up in the morning with them, and I was able to sleep in a little bit. But yeah, I was with them all day, and it didn't matter. They wanted to snuggle and be on top of me, fine. They wanted to fight, okay. They're allowed to have their pain. They're allowed to freak out. That's all because think about how all the adults were reacting. Do you really expect the kids not to react to that?
It's not about expectations. It's about how can we tolerate it? Because no, we can't. We could say I don't expect it, but I still can't tolerate it. The question is how you were able to tolerate the metziut that was like you're saying. Okay, zeh metziut, and this is expected. But at the same time, can I tolerate it?
It was really this click that happened. The minute that door closed, the minute the door slammed behind him. On October 7th, I switched. I just said, I don't matter anymore. My needs don't matter. I eat so that I can have enough strength to take care of them. I sleep so I can have enough strength to take care of them. Whatever I do is just so that whatever I'm going to do for myself, if I drink coffee, it's only so that I can be awake enough for them. So I can take care of them. That's the only thing that mattered.
Wow.
I didn't have any other choice. There is no one else there. No one else is there to help me with them. With all me.
Did you think for a second maybe I should go to someone to help? Or should I move into someone for Shabbos, for a week? Should I go to America to my parents to pamper for a little bit?
My mom stayed here, and at a certain point, she was already
for a week and a half. That was like
just the beginning. But even at a certain point, I needed her to leave. I needed to do this by myself.
Okay.
Arky's parents live in Israel. And there was a day or two that it was Wednesday, Thursday, or something like that. Of that first week, I went over to them I needed to get out of Tekoa. I felt like I spent all of Sukkot in Tekoa, and I felt like I spent all that week, and like I hadn't left, and I
needed a change of scenery, energy, scenery, movement, pace.
And it was very weird, I have to say, walking around Beit Shemesh and seeing men. It was like, what are guys doing here?
Oh, because in Tqan, no one was there? All the husbands went to Miluim?
Basically, because even people who then came back a week later because they weren't needed or they were this or they got sent to protect Tekoa or whatever it was, that first week, everyone left. There was very few guys. I remember 2 of the guys that actually were there that reached out to me. They're like, I know that we're not in Miluim, and so we're here if you need any help. The teenagers came around and took down our sukkah. Our sukkahs were...
Yeah. Wow.
It was raining, and I still remember it was drizzling on them, and I felt so bad, and they were like quickly just taking down the sukkah as fast as they could and rolling things up and putting it away as fast as they could because it was raining, and everyone was there to help. I had so many friends came and stopped by with cakes and cookies, and because in the beginning I was also the only one of the Americans who had a husband who's gone.
Yeah.
So everyone really rallied behind me, which was really... It was really special. I told Arky that I could never leave Tekoa after this.
It's realizing what a community does for you.
Community. This is why we have community. Look how this beautiful community came together to support me.
You had a family. Even like you had a chosen family. Yeah. A built-in chosen family. Aviga, do you remember the first time you really cried, and you let some of the emotions out, what you were holding in order to be okay for your children?
The first Friday night, I had to go to the mikvah, and he was gone.
Oh my God.
And my mom was here, and I didn't want to tell her. So I asked her to stay home with the kids, and then I would go to shul. And I didn't go to shul, I went to the mikvah. And I was in the mikvah, and I was going down the stairs, and I forgot what the mikvah lady said, and I said to her, I'm like, I don't even know why I'm doing this. I don't even know the next time I'm going to see my husband. Like, why am I even doing this? What's the point of this? And I started crying, and then I'm like, no. And I was like, get it together.
Really? Because you didn't want to let yourself feel, because you said, if I let myself feel, I might fall apart, and I can't afford falling apart. I have 3 children.
Yeah. And actually leaving the mikvah that night, I saw a friend come who had just given birth. So she was going for the first time after giving birth, and she had come with her baby. So I said, okay, give me your baby.
It's tzadikot.
No.
איזה צדיקות אתם, אני לא יכולה, אני אבכה. איזה צדיקות.
But I took her baby, and I let her go, and I just held on to this month-old nothing. And just like, you know that feeling of baby therapy where you just hold that a newborn scrunch.
A purity of that you don't know life yet. You're so pure. You're just,
And I think that was the first time tears came out, probably.
But לחזור הביתה without a husband.
No, that's not true. That's not the first time tears came out. I'm sorry. I lied. That's not. In the beginning, I knew that Arky was going into Kfar Aza, and his Rab's son died there. He went to go take people out of Kfar Aza, and I had to tell Arky to be careful because he might see his goof. And I told him, and I hung up the phone, and my friend was doing this yoga thing, and I hung up the phone and went straight into the yoga session. Again, it was something that she was doing free for Milui Mamas, for anyone whose husband went in, and mid that yogas, right? Because just that movement, and then the breathing.
That's what it does. It gives permission to feel. It literally is that. Well, that's what yoga does. It gives permission to process everything.
Yeah, I forgot about that. That weeks were intense.
Wow.
Yeah.
And when was the first time he came home? Did you know when he was coming home?
He came home relatively late compared to other guys. I went to go visit him. Like I made a very intense effort to go see him. So that first week, I saw him when I went to go to Arky's parents. Me, his parents, and the kids all went to go visit him at Summit Ilu on his base in Rehovot.
And you were allowed to come in? Do they allow family?
And he wasn't allowed really to leave the base. There's like this tiny little green patch right outside at the gate. So we were out there. And then Saturday night, a kid told everybody, okay, if you haven't seen your family yet, tell them to come to Gilbert, Washington tonight. Because as of tomorrow, I don't know what will be. So then Saturday night, I ran over. And
when was that? That was the first weekend.
So
right after you went to the mikvah.
So I was like, I don't know what I'm going to see. And then I saw him. And I stayed there till 2 a.m. or something. Just, it didn't matter my sleep that day. Needed to get every minute of him that I possible.
Right.
I also needed to understand what he was going, like, I didn't understand where he was at emotionally. I couldn't be, that's something you can really get from phones. And I was,
you had to read it. You had to read his energy by seeing his eyes, his body movement,
because when I
his
saw
breath even.
Yeah. When I saw him on Thursday, he was so overtired. They hadn't slept. They were sleeping on the ground on a parking lot. Like, he was so tired that I didn't know what was tiredness, maybe he was traumatized, maybe he wasn't, what was happening. So I saw him Saturday night, and then he didn't come home. I made efforts to come. And especially when my mom was still here. So at night I would go. I would spend the night there if they weren't doing something specifically in those hours. But I'm talking like once a week. It wasn't like often. He didn't come home, meaning the kids didn't see him till maybe the third Shabbat.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time. And you're still betafkid. You're still feeling, I'm here. I have, by that, like, he's coming home for, like, after a month, and you're still like, okay, Avigail, this is your mission.
Yeah.
Sleep, eat, rest, do whatever you need to do in order to be there for the children.
Yeah. We went to a friend's house for lunch. I remember just sitting on the couch with him at their house. We were all talking and thinking, this is so weird because it's so normal and it's so not normal, but it's normal. It feels so normal, but it's not normal. I'm like, I need to appreciate every minute of this.
Right.
The truth was, till around Hanukkah, I was pretty strong and just everything was okay. Everything was good. I'm there for everybody. Due to a lot of reasons, around Hanukkah time, I started more struggling and needing support.
And did you know where to go for that? Were you aware that you were like needing support? Did you see yourself saying, okay, I need an oxygen mask?
Came out as me getting mad at Arky. That's the truth. Because I wanted support from him. Because in normal worlds, when I'm crashing, he's my person. He's the person to go to. And he couldn't be there for me. Understandably. And I knew that, and you can know that logically. Yeah.
I need it.
Yeah. I don't have family here. Arky's family's here, and they're amazing, but they're not my family. And I don't have family in that way.
And it's not your husband.
And most of my friends' husbands were not going through things in the way that my husband was going through. And so I didn't know anyone who's dealing with the things that my husband was dealing with. Not seeing their husband as often. I was seeing them as often. Meaning I was seeing Arky less than they were. Arky didn't come home for a single night of Hanukkah. And that was around that time where I didn't get the help I needed. The truth is, I don't even know who I would have gone to at that point. Even today, I'm not sure who would have been right for me to approach.
And maybe it was more grief and yearning versus a help.
Yeah.
Permission. Tal Ben Shahar says permission to be human. And I feel like maybe you didn't give yourself permission to be human because you couldn't afford it at the time. And you're like, I don't matter right now.
Yeah. And at some point that caught up.
Yeah. And that happens. And each one has a different threshold. And so what did that look like? If you want to share.
A lot of crying. It ended up being that every Friday, like multiple Fridays in a row, me and Arky got into really big fights right before Shabbat came in. And we couldn't even process it because Shabbat. Yeah. Turn off the phone, mid-fight. Sorry, I gotta light candles.
Oh, he wasn't even home.
No, no. There was a time he came home and he really needed support. And I felt that he wasn't home even though he was home.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of hard feelings in those moments.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is new for both of us. Arky went into Miluim right after Tzimketan happened. So we've never had a war together. We never did this. And obviously no one's done it for this long. But we had never experienced this at all. And so we were both figuring it out. And he needed to cut off from the family in order to focus on Army world. It's so natural and so normal. He needed to do that. But to me, that was really painful. Even if it was so natural and it makes complete sense, it was still
100%. 100%.
And
It's a real grief.
yeah,
It's grieving the person you expect to be there and is not there. They're there in a body, but they're not there emotionally. And you're like, wait, what happened?
very,
And where's the Arky that left? Wait, you're the Arky in the body, but where's the Arky that I know?
yeah. And I think there was a lot of things I was like feeling from him. He had to turn off in a way. He had to turn off his emotions and his feelings. I was feeling that, but I was like, is he turning off his feelings for me? And there were all these very classic questions in a way, and that a lot of women go through. But in the moment, I didn't know that. And in the moment, it didn't matter. It didn't matter that everyone else was going through this.
Mamash not. It's just pain. And you wanted somebody to hold space for your pain. And sometimes just analyzing it with the person you love is so therapeutic, and you didn't have the time because you couldn't, because you had TikTok, I need to go. Like, I can speak to you for 5 minutes. And you're like, no.
Yeah. And it's also, I'll speak to you for 5 minutes. Let me tell you what happened to me, which he needs and which I want, right? I want to know. Are you going into Gaza? When are you going in? When are you coming out? Okay, you did this crazy practice drill. What did that mean? What's that mean for the future? I want to know what's happening over there. But I needed him to hear what was happening here. It was...
maybe even you needed him to want to hear.
Yes. And he couldn't want. He couldn't want to hear.
Yeah.
If he did, he would want to go home. And he couldn't let himself want to go home.
This is your cognitive mind understanding it now, but like when you're in the moment, there's no reason. Right. It doesn't matter.
In the moment, you can't see that.
You don't care.
This is after a lot of time sitting on the couch talking post-war. Or it's not post-war, but post.
Yeah. And just like processing it's a form of abandonment and like recognizing the new person that you both are evolved into, right?
Yeah.
They say there was before COVID and after COVID, and there's going to be before October 7th and after October 7th, especially for Neshot Chayalim. And it's going to be a very long process to get to rediscover each other and to heal that separation.
Definitely. We're also getting to know each other again. He's a different person. I'm a different person. I found strength that I never knew I had in myself, ever. And he has this whole amazing side of him. He's softer in a way. He is even just technically, he has this whole social media side that was never really part of our lives before this.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to America. We're going to go speak. Like, that was never part of our life before this. We're both navigating these new parts of each other and what this new life is going to look like.
Mm. Were you ever frustrated when you saw one of his videos going out, like part of your heart? I know this is a big question. Maybe I'm projecting. I probably am.
You're really on point.
Like, I would say if my husband would do that, like I would say, really? You're motivating everyone. Can you come home to me for a second? Can you give that 30 seconds to me or something like that?
Come home.
No, but I'm saying the emotional home.
The truth is, I felt it once, and it was the first one where he told everybody, we're going down to this important mission, do a good deed that you haven't done.
I remember that one. I was struggling with gratitude that week. I was struggling. Gratitude is a part of my life. And I remember, and 4 different people sent me that video, and they knew how gratitude is so important to me. And I was struggling, and I said, I know I won't survive without gratitude, but am I allowed to? Am I allowed to? And they sent me that, and I'm like, oh, he's giving me permission to do something and to celebrate. Like, he's giving me, mamash natan li reshut.
Love that.
Lirot tov, la'asot tov. In his, like, I said, oh, look, we can celebrate that this chayal is telling us that we could do good for them.
So it's funny because that video actually originally went out to just his cousin. He sent it out to his cousins and his cousin group. Hey guys, I'm going down. His first cousins and aunts and uncles, let's do something. I got the video. It was like Monday morning or Tuesday morning. And I remember thinking, are you freaking kidding me? You're sending out this goodbye video to everybody. And like, no, I don't get a bye video. He had sent a private video to the kids, like, hey, I love you guys. And I'm like, you're not going down to a hard thing and you're not sending me something. So that was like the one time where I was like, you got to send me something too. I sent him like, you got to send me my own message. So he made his own video for me. But then it was just so funny because then that was the video that really exploded everywhere. It was that and for Shabbat the Brat House. And that was the only time where I'm like, not sending this to other people. You need to think of me first. But after that, it was very clear what the purpose was. And I also knew how good it was for him.
Nahon, that's what I was just thinking as, like you realized that it was his oxygen.
Yeah. So I was never upset about it. I loved it. We brainstormed together what his next mission should be for other people to tell people, okay, let's think of more ideas. So then it, in a way, became, even though no one saw it, it was in a way a background of, I was also coming up with some of
a teamwork and a together.
He sometimes liked my ideas, sometimes said, okay, that's nice, and did his own thing.
Right.
It's his thing. So I didn't, it was only that first time where I'm like, you don't get to go off to war and not send me a video.
And when was the first time he came back for more than 24 hours?
And honestly, all his time, it's clear. They're called after, right? After. I don't really know. Whatever. That's the word for it. So all of them got mushed into one a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember so much. It all got mushed.
Was it hard to be around each other those few days to just...
No, it was the opposite. It was the most connection that we've ever been. I remember seeing a post of a good friend of mine who wrote, even though your husbands come home from war, it's okay to get mad at each other. It's okay to get angry. And I remember saying, no, it's not. I have 48 hours together. I'm not spending that time getting mad at him. And if he doesn't wash the dishes, is that worth the fight? Is that worth wasting those moments? It's not worth it for me. I'd rather forget that anger, put that anger aside, and just have these like few moments that I have. And so it was like a really intense connection, and him towards me as well, right? He also that were like, he wouldn't get annoyed at me at little things because it didn't matter. The little things didn't matter. And especially in the beginning, it was extra connect. As funny as it sounds, it was extra connecting. Just because nothing mattered. It didn't matter whether he cleaned the dishes or not. It didn't matter whether he cleaned a diaper or I did the diaper, or he got the food or I did it. Nothing mattered. All that mattered was that he was home in that moment.
And then fast forward a few months later, were you able to keep up those precious moments and to really be present?
Yes. I was able to be present when he was there. But when
was he be able to be present for you? Was he able to disconnect from the army and be present for you and the children?
Yeah, he was. But every time he put that uniform back on, his mind switched again.
Wow.
And so in the morning he was supposed to leave, and even if he didn't have to leave till 9 a.m., 10 a.m., but at 7 he got dressed. So he got dressed in his uniform. He was already, in a way, gone. And we stuck with that. And over time he worked on that, and I worked on also understanding that. And that took time for me to be okay with that. But his mind really switched. He put on his uniform, he put on his gun, and he went back into army mode. And that's the way the mind works. That's the way it's so natural. I realize it's coming out sounding bad that he's
not at all. I don't think it's human. It's very human.
So human. I couldn't accept it.
It's like a mankalit or mankal going into the office, and then he walks home and he's the father when he takes off his jacket or whatever, when he puts out his computer.
It was so literal. It was, the green was on, and yeah.
Wow, isn't that incredible? Our incredible human programming that just happens without us even noticing, and it's so ingrained in us.
Yeah.
Wow. And when did you even get any rest, like the Simchat Torah, the October 8th that you've been yearning for? Have you...
It's funny you asked that, actually. Yesterday I came home. The reason why you originally spoke with Arky, when was Arky been? This Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, I went up north with a friend, actually. And I just came home last night. The first time Arky suggested it, I really didn't want to go. And we planned it, and then I canceled it. And I struggled to give up that space. But today's my first day home from a 3-day break.
What were you struggling with? Disconnecting from the kids, or disconnecting from him, or feeling the emotions, silence?
It's somewhat giving up control. All of a sudden, the house was 100% mine. Left over, but also left over, also for good. I ran the house my way. And I ran the kids my way. And it's funny. So my kids come home at 4. All of them come home at 4. And on Sunday, I literally felt my body get tense. In 20. Like my body knew. And I remember looking at my watch, like, oh, that's why. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And my body literally knew, okay, the kids are coming home. Let's get all this energy and gather as much energy as we can to get them to get me through till they go to sleep. And it was hard to let go of that. It was hard to trust, not because I didn't trust Arky, but just he hadn't been home and he hasn't done it in a long time. And to trust someone else with my kids.
And somebody that went through so much trauma, you don't know what went on in his mind. No?
At home enough that I trust him 100%. It's not about that. It's not him as a person. It could be anybody. It could be the best nanny in the world. There's just
let go.
Letting go and being able to fully let go was really difficult for me.
Have you ever done it before or never?
And it was significantly easier than this time.
I wonder why it was so different.
I've never put my heart and soul into only my family and only my kids. It's always, yes, I'm in my family, but I also was doing work, or I was also a person in myself. And I didn't have any other identity for the last few months aside from my husband and kids. I wasn't a person for myself. I'm only me. I was only for them, sorry.
Right.
And so to all of a sudden only be, to focus on me, that was, who am I though? What am I? Who am I? What do I do? What do I believe in? What do I love?
Yeah. All these hard questions. And maybe it's sitting with the questions that are so uncomfortable because you're so used to be in action and to be in the silence of these big questions that are very big to hold space for and scary and very scary.
100%.
And then you have to wow, this silence is interesting.
It was very scary. And maybe I should have done it earlier. That's the truth, is I probably should have done it earlier. And maybe it would have been better. And maybe I would have been able to be more accepting. Or there's always maybes. You can always 2020. It was important for me. And I'm happy I did it. He put me.
Yeah, but I'm saying for you to say, you know what, this is uncomfortable, but I'm going to do it because part of you doing it is also bitafkid, in a way, because you want to be the better mother, the better wife, the better person, the better Avigail for yourself. So it's also a form of doing it. I'm understanding from this interview that you're a doer. You're very much of a doer.
I like
so,
the thing.
Yeah, so maybe part of that is, am I allowed to? Permission to do and to ponder and to explore.
Yeah.
So what happened when you mentioned that after a month and a half or something like that, you started crumbling?
Yeah, it was
what did days look like for you?
I started having much shorter leashes with the kids. They would do something small that would really aggravate me. And I had a shorter leash with Arky. The house started to go downwards. It's, as I'm saying this, it in a way sounds like a depression, but it wasn't a depression. It was it was a crumbling. It was a falling apart. I kept saying I'm broke. I broke.
Oh.
I snapped in a way. And it wasn't
you
in anger and I exploded in anger, but strength was...
I feel like you pulled that rubber band and then it snapped. And it was as much, if you're going to pull it too much and not release, it's going to snap.
Yeah. And
who was there for you then? Really, who was there for you?
I went to therapy.
Good for you.
I was in therapy even before the war, so during this whole time. And I have one friend who I opened up to everything that was happening.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. Not everything. Not everything, but a lot I spoke to her about. Her husband's also in the army. He's not in the same place at all, but we've gone through so much together as friends that I was there for her when they were having trouble, and I knew that she would be there for me.
And was she able to hold space for you?
Yes, but I got annoyed by that, as ironic as it is. Like, it was almost annoying that she was okay. It was almost like, wait, why are you okay? This isn't fair.
Oh, wow.
And that sounds so silly, right? She's able to hold space for me. I should take that. But it was almost like wait, it almost made me feel bad, like something's wrong that I can't handle.
Or maybe, which is
Okay.
probably what a lot of women think is, it means I'm weak. How does she keep it together?
Yeah.
Which is the wrong way to think. Of
So
course,
I
it's
was
the wrong.
keeping it together when she wasn't keeping it together, right? In the beginning,
Right.
it had been better, and she was falling apart. So
And bichlal, the concept of weak or strength in such a time is such a false concept, because we're surviving, right? There's no,
and also
it's
we're all
not
going through different things, right? She's
mamash.
something different than I'm in, and for
100%.
me, this part's harder because of my circumstances than for her. That, and it shouldn't be a competition, and it wasn't. It's not in a competition way, but it was.
It felt like an internal, like, how could this be?
Yeah.
Because it was new for you. You were experiencing everything very, like, it's was unraveling in front of you, and you couldn't make sense of it, and you probably didn't have menuchat nefesh to try to make sense of it, and it was like, wait, what's going on? And rediscovering yourself and recognizing it. And I wish I was in your state, but in the way, even your gvura, mamash gvura, but I find this every day in my life, that I get into bed and I do my cheshbon nefesh, and I'm like, oh, couldn't you just show up a little bit better for your children today? Like, really, you had to? And every day you go to sleep thinking, okay, tomorrow's going to be better. And then by a half an hour into the morning, you're like, what? Don't you remember last night, that conversation you had with yourself?
Yeah. I think another part of it, though, was it happened around 2 months after, let's call it, something like that, of Hanukkah was around. And I stopped working out. I was doing the triathlon. I ran the triathlon right before. And I went from this really high intensity workout, which was getting, in general, just gets all your endorphins up, but it also just gets all the emotions out. And
it's very good for mental health. Yeah. And you didn't have a goal, and you didn't have something bigger to work for, and besides surviving.
I stopped moving, and I think it finally hit me. It caught up to me also. And I think it was a lot of things together. But I wasn't moving anymore, and I couldn't. And I couldn't.
You were moving because you didn't have energy?
I needed to constantly preserve energy.
So you knew, if I'm going to go for a run or something, it's going to burn up my energy, and
then I'm going to be too tired for the kids, and then I'm going to want to sleep at night. But if I sleep at night and someone wakes up in the middle of the night, then I'm going to, and no matter what, even if I wake up in the middle of the night, so I'm going to have to wake up at the other kid, and then I have to do my day, and so it didn't matter. And so I couldn't let myself get tired. I couldn't exhaust myself. I remember thinking, like, the second I start, it starts getting hard. A run starts getting hard. A workout, a whatever, anything I'm doing starts getting hard. I need to pause. I need to stop. And that's the exact opposite of what you're supposed to do when you're working out, right? Like, the hard part is when you push.
The burn.
That's the part where you gain, right? That's the part you wait till the hard part where it's hard. And the part where it's hard is the best part. It's the hardest part, but it's also the best part, right? That's where you grow. And I couldn't. And I think it caught up to me, the lack of movement.
At the moment?
Yeah. I have a goal again of running. I want to go back to running 15Ks and in under a certain time. And I'm doing CrossFit again, so I'm physically strengthening my upper body, my lower body, my abs. And I just want to go back to feeling strong again. And I finally I think the fact that I can have a goal. I waited for Arky to come home till I was able to trust that he was really home, and not trust him, trust the army that he was home. It's not up to him. Once I was able to trust, I was able to be like, okay, I'm ready for a goal again. Now I'm ready for a goal again. And slowly but surely, if the first thing was a movement goal, and then now I'm thinking about career goals, and I'm not happy where I'm at in career-wise, and I want to move forward at that. What exactly do I want? How do I get there? So now I'm focusing on career goals. Just being able to have a goal is really special. And I'm for that, because I didn't have space for goals before.
Mamash. Yeah. There was because like goals can be a privilege.
Yeah. And I never knew that.
Right.
I knew that.
And you were in survival. And when you're in survival, you don't think about besides living. Are we living? Are we sleeping? And how can we live okay today that tomorrow we can continue going through that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. What a limud that goals are privileges. And there's a time and place for them, right?
Yeah. I feel
There's a
bad. This
time.
whole podcast is like so low and so dark and so sad, but the truth,
Not at all.
this was
I see
also
so much of a limud, so much of, it's not about optimism all the time. It's about realism, and accepting it is what the human experience is.
Yeah.
Right? And it could be seasons. It can be a season, and
yeah.
And I don't see it as dark at all. I see it so beautiful. Maybe you're hard on yourself, and
It's my yeah.
And like most people would say, wow. I'm like, my biggest takeaway is like, is in Nashim Tzedkaniyot, you go to the mikveh, your husband's not there, and what do you see? Another fellow woman that's going to the mikveh, and you hold the baby for her. You saw her. Wow. And for you, it was a given. It was a given. Like, how can I see her and not feel so sorry for myself? But
so it is. I think here it really is a biyachad.
Yeah.
The thing is biyachad inatzach, right? The slogan of this word is biyachad inatzach, and we spoke a little bit about before, but this whole idea of, the truth is, I find it so beautiful that the slogan of this war is something. It's so Torah, right? We know this from Tisha B'Av, right? And the reason why we lost the Beit HaMikdash, because we weren't united, because we were infighting. And it was like this came, October 7th came, and the entire country was said, this is the same thing. We're not letting this happen. We are together. And we're here.
Because only ביחד ננצח. כי אם אנחנו לא מאוחדים, אנחנו לא ננצח.
Yeah. And especially in the listen, as time went on, it became harder, but especially in the beginning, I was walking down the street with the kids. I had a friend literally screech to a halt, back up, and hand me a cake out the window.
Aww.
People were stopping by my house to make sure I was okay. My phone was blowing up in those first weeks. Are you okay? What's going on? What's going on? People reached out to me from people who I hadn't spoken to in 20 years. People from my high school who I was barely friends with in high school, but saw Arky's video and said, I know that he's your husband. How are you handling it? And it really was, Americans reached out to Israelis, and everyone was reaching out to each other here. And it was really powerful, the sense of togetherness. And I think that's how we all made it through.
What do you want the next chapter to be?
That's a good question. I'm definitely thinking about it.
If you had a dream, like if they said, okay, Avigail, it's your turn to dream because you didn't have time for your dreams. So now, if you had a dream, what would that dream look like?
In a perfect world, I would love to advance career-wise and yet at the same time be home with my kids the way I've been with them in this past year. And that's not something that's exactly perfect and easy or possible. I'm really excited for Arky and I to do this trip to America. And I feel like it's the start of something, mostly for him. But we learned through the war, we always stay better together. And I'm excited to see how this journey takes both of us. And I don't need to be the one up on stage always with him or talking, because that's not what Better Together. It's not attached at the hip. But I'm excited to see what this journey looks like. And even if it's a short-term thing or a long-term thing, I don't know. But I'm excited to see where that happens. I'm excited to see how my kids are. My daughter's going into first grade next year. That's crazy. Yeah. That's just the whole new stage of life. We'll see. There's a lot coming.
Beautiful, beautiful. What are one of your messages that you want to leave in America when you come? I'm sure you're processing it. Yeah. What are the messages that you want to come and share?
So Arky has some messages, I think are his, that I don't disagree with, obviously. And I'm definitely very pro them. There's a song that kept playing that that I would listen to Spotify, and it was just on one of the playlists that I was listening to, and it's a Kafek Shechol Chazak song. And the line is, Ani yodea she'akol yeh beseder. I know that everything will be okay. And it's just this inner trust of just, whatever it is, it'll be okay. I'll figure it out. God will figure it out. I got this, or we got this as a community. We got this. And and that song is, there you go. You can hear my child. She's crying. But I think that's a message I definitely want to pass to her.
Like more of hope versus sharing, like saying, guys, we're going to be, like, you're not in Israel. You don't know what's going on the front line, but it's going to be okay. And let's do this together.
No matter what you're going through, whether it's war, whether it's Corona, whether I have friends going through divorce, I have friends going through pregnancy issues, or miscarriages, or fertility issues,
even career changes, like you were like, or internal
story. It is. It's what it's supposed to be.
Right. And lead with curiosity. I often say, let's lead with curiosity. We can replace fear with curiosity.
Yeah.
Do you want to go to him?
No. My husband's got it.
Okay. The privileges of him being home.
Motherhood as being is.
Yeah. But I think also one of the things that also Sheyeh Beseder, like these different stages of a woman. So we were talking about this before we started, like a lot of us want to get married, we want to have children, we want to להקים משפחה, and we're so driven in the mission that sometimes we neglect ourselves, and we're like, wait, who are we? What do we want? We also matter, and to be okay with going into these difficult questions of ourselves and saying, okay, maybe 2 years ago I was there, but this is where I am now. This is where my feet are now.
Yeah. So I
have a mentor, Jesse. Right. So Jesse Itzler, my mentor, is be where your feet are at now.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. Like it's the law of ours, the law of achshav. And just be present and okay that achshav it can be different.
Yeah. 100%.
Aviga, you're such an inspiration. You're such a pure soul. Thank you for sharing your heart with us and your journey, and your husband that inspired us to keep staying positive. Mamash, keep staying positive. There's
I did have him. Very well.
And I started this little Facebook group, and it's called the One Good Thing Daily Project. And it's really permission to see the one good thing, because sometimes we don't want to see the good. But I feel if we choose that we can see the one good thing until we see other good things. And I think like you're so good at that. And I can't wait to see how this trip to America will unravel for you and your family and maybe your career.
Hopefully. Yeah.
And באמת תודה מכל הלב. And אין לנו מילים. Like for a woman that shared her husband with the country, I'm talking on the chayalim wise. Forget the social media. Like, באמת, איזה עבודת קודש? I really don't know if there's a higher עבודת קודש than that. Like we say it in the morning. And אלו דברים שאין להם שיעור. And I feel like what he did was really that.
Yeah. 100%.
לוויית המת. Like, 100%. Wow. And to just give it kavod, איזה זכות. Really incredible. You both are remarkable.
Thank you so much.
Avigail, thank you very much. והמון הצלחה. And I hope you both find the journey to home, to the wholeness of yourself, to your new selves, the new versions of yourself, in a healthy, happy, meaningful way.
Amen. Thank you for this opportunity. This was really special for me.
בשמחה, it was a kavod. באמת kavod. Bye till next time.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Understand. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please hit that follow button on your favorite podcast app. This way you don't miss an episode and you help us grow. You are part of our growth. We appreciate your support and we hope you choose to listen to us on our next episode. We'd love to hear from our audience. If there's anything you would like us to research, to talk about, please contact us on our website, listeningtounderstand.com. And if there's any insight that you got from this and you want to share with others and you are happy for us to read it out loud on our show, send us your insights. Send us your thoughts. We want to listen to understand. Bye till next time.